It is it is really hard to get people to care about privacy. I think when we started out, um, we very much kind of had the attitude of it's the law, and you all want to follow the law because we're all good people that follow our laws, so you're going to do it. That is not really a selling point for many people, particularly when they don't have resources, and that's just a common theme I think in education is laws are made, no help is provided, and then you prioritize according to what you feel like you can do with what you've been given. So in terms of getting people to care about privacy, we definitely had to like take some steps back. Instead of just saying you need to care because the law says you need to care, we had to think of like, well, why does this law exist? And I find that really helpful when researching things like FERPA as a simple example, and realizing the environment in the 70s it was created in around Watergate, and kind of just an overall paranoia about, wait, what is the government doing? And so you look at like some of the FIPS, so the Fair Information Practice Principles that came out around the same time, and just simple things where it's like, yeah, this law is about being fair. And that's something that now people can connect to. It's like, like I don't necessarily want to do all these things, but it's like, okay, like I know you just want to teach students and whatnot, but that's one way to look at what you're doing. The other way to look at it is you're a government agency that collects information on children. And when you frame it that way, it's like, oh, okay, that sounds a little scarier. And it's like, well, what if you were interacting with this government agency that collects information on children? How would you like them to treat you? What would be fair? And then they start understanding where it's like, well, I'd want to know what information do they have. And it's like, great, that's the first thing FERPA talks about, that you have a right to inspect and review that information and have an explanation about what it is you're reading, what it means. Then you'd probably be like, well, what if there's information I disagree with? And FERPA accounts for that as well. There's a process for you to seek to amend records that are inaccurate or misleading. And I'd want to know who they're sharing that information with. And it's like, wow, honestly, I think people would essentially make FERPA up on their own when you explain it that way, and it helps them understand better. It's like, okay, this is why this law exists. We just want to treat parents fairly. And that's a principle I think everyone can agree upon. So trying to find those core principles that the laws are based on, that teachers and administrators, they're already trying to follow. I think that helps probably a lot more than, again, like more fear-based tactics.